Hello everybody and welcome to Calls. This is the 2022 American Express DFS Tactics show. Great show for you lined up tonight. A lot of great content. I'm here for all your last minute questions, your agony between this guy or that guy. If there's anybody that you want to see some last minute statistics on, I'm here for all of that for you. So let's not delay anything. All statistics are provided by FantasyNational.com. Amazing resource. Go check it out. It's well worth the investment. You're not going to regret it. In the description to the video, there is links to my social media where I will be posting my betting card later tonight after the show, as well as when I find any useful or interesting information as I research throughout the week and during the tournament. That's where I'll post most of my findings, is there on social media. As well as there's an email in the description to contact me if you want to be a part of bonus content that I send to my subscribers. To my own tournament fact sheet that I create for everybody, along with some bonus videos and so forth. So if you want to be a part of that exclusive content, make sure you reach out to me at the email in the description. That way I know how to get that content to you. And then lastly, I alluded to, you've got questions, you need some answers, you're agonizing over a couple of guys. Chat is open, it is live. With that all out of the way, let's get into our DFS tactics for the 2022 American Express. And as we move on over here, get the camera focused in, let me get my water here. This is the mixed condition model that I ended up with. I mentioned on Monday night that I was looking at some various things, going to weigh some options here and there, and this is what I landed on. So, first off, strokes gained total, easy to par. This tournament is easy. I mean, even the stadium course is easy. It generally plays to about a shot under par. But when you have a 3-course rota, La Quinta Country Club and the Nicklaus Tournament course, both of those are well under a shot and a half under par. La Quinta plays to almost 2.5 shots under par. It's no wonder why we see winning scores in the 26, 27, seen as low as 29. Guys are gonna make birdies. They're just going to destroy those two alternate courses, and the stadium course can play easy as well at times. So I really wanted to see who plays well on easy courses. And as we went through the Data Dive show, we kind of discussed in the course breakdown how there was kind of a hidden correlation between off the tee and leaderboard success. As you climbed the leaderboard, off the tee became much more important. In the top 10, it was it was mild, not a lot there. And then as you move to the top 5, and then the winners really started spiking in the off the tee category, as well as the par 3s, and I'll get to that. But I put 10% in off the tee this week. There's a little bit of trouble at the Nicklaus Tournament course and at the Stadium course, but generally speaking, it's pretty wide open. You have some miss room on the holes that don't have the water in play. So if you have your driver straightened out and are hitting it somewhat straight, I mean, it's not a requirement to hit fairways, although it does help. But if you have your driver in good condition, guys generally do well here. Everyone that knows me knows that I much prefer iron play, strokes gained approach. I put that back up to a full 20%. It is the most important shot type here at the MX is approaches. We saw that putting was pretty erratic. Some years it was very important, some years it wasn't. I did not want to ignore it completely, so I put 5% in putting. and I did not give it any speed adjustments, no average, no fast, or anything to that effect, because while the stadium course generally plays fast greens, Nicklaus Tournament and La Quinta do not. They are generally average speed. So I just wanted to see, in recent form, who are the best putters on just plain Bermuda. I'll skip down here to the par threes. I mentioned, like off the tee, the par threes, as players climbed the leaderboard, going from top 20 to top 10, 5, up to the winners, the par threes became much more and more important. So I put 10 full percent into that. Also, because this course is so easy, I put 10% also in par fives. Even though the stadium course per se isn't does not have a lot of eagle chances or eagle holes, there are tons and tons and tons of birdies. I can't stress it enough. There are tons of birdies. So if you are not birdieing the par fives, especially at the stadium course, but Nicklaus and La Quinta, you're falling behind the field. So I'll put 10% in the par fives. You just have to take advantage of them. And then to round out the rest of this mixed condition model, birdies gained. A lot of times, if I know I'm on an easy track, an easy tournament, easy course, I'm going to do birdies or better. But specifically to the stadium course, I've alluded that there are not a lot of eagles. It's just a bunch of birdies. So I went birdies gained, not birdies or better, just birdies gained on easy courses. And I put a full 15% in that. I just want to see who makes birdies in bunches. Just flat out. Sometimes they might, have bogeys here and there, but if they can get on runs, they're going to do well here at the Amex. So I put a full 15% in birdies on easy courses. I put 5% on greens in regulation. Generally speaking, that's your iron players. It is a statistic. Like I said, the stroke gain approach is the most important here. But also, instead of going with good drives, I noticed that greens in regulation tended to lead to more upper tier success in leaderboard. And I only put that at 5%. I wasn't terribly confident in it, especially since I have so much weight into strokes gained approach already. But it was the most important factor on the fairways and greens page of Fantasy National. We took a look in. Driving distance wasn't all that important. Fairways wasn't all that important. So it was between good drives and greens in regulation. I just put greens in regulation. Honestly, if you did good drives, I wouldn't fault you for using that metric. I just didn't put a whole lot of percentage into it. And to round it out, we saw that while the par fours are important here, there was one main length of par four here. It's 400 to 450. That really jumped out to a big correlation of upper tier success, upper tier leaderboard success, and this length of par four. So I put a full 15% in that as well. I think there are four par four. There are only four par fours that play to this length on the scorecard. There are four that are 350 to 400, and there are four that are 450 to 500. But generally speaking, most of them will play into this region as they, swap tees, swap pin positions. You'll have some holes that'll play 402, some that'll play 448, 446, whatnot. So I imagine most of them do fall into this category, and the numbers don't lie. This is a very important metric here at the Amex. So there's my full 100% of the mixed condition model. And when I loaded my results, it's no surprise. It's Jon Rahm's number one. Number one in the world. I mean, you can see here he's the best. This was a bit surprising to me. He is the best in the field on easy courses. Generally, you would think Jon Rahm, he's best when it's difficult, but he can, he can mash the birdies with the best of them. I'm just gonna highlight him here for a second. It was honestly a little surprising. I would have figured that while he is a fantastic player and it's going to be easy for him on an easy course. He actually plays his best when it's easy. Almost getting 2 full strokes when the conditions are easy, or the round is easy or whatnot. So I was a bit surprised by it, but it makes a whole lot of sense. So he's number 1 in that. I mean, top 10 or top 2 in birdies on easy, off the tee, par 3s, top 3 on par 5s. I mean, there's just whatever you want to say about Jon Rahm, the answer is yes, and that's why he's the favorite. He's also number 1 in my data model. Rounding up my top 5 are Corey Connors, Russell Henley, Hayden Buckley, and Will Zalatoris. So those are my top 5. I'm quite bullish on Hayden Buckley. I was very, very, very on him, for lack of better terminology. That sounded bad. I was very much backing him last week at the Sony, and he delivered with a top 20 performance. And I think this week's going to be even better. Well, maybe not even better, but I think this course sets up just as well for him. Solid Korn Ferry Tour grad. You can see here he's top 5 on easy courses. He's top 5 off the tee. Top 20 in par 5s. Top 20 in putting. So if this is a year that putting is going to matter, and it's pretty erratic here at the Amex, but if this happens to be a year that putting will matter, he's great in that. And not to mention that his strokes gained approach is in the top 20 as well. So there's a lot to like with Hayden Buckley. He is a little bit of a price jump. I would imagine that this is probably going to be the lowest he's going to be for quite a while. He was in the 6,000s last week. He's already up to 7,200. And if he has a tournament like I think he will, which is probably another top 20, he'll be in the mid to upper 7s before long. So enjoy Hayden Buckley while he is at this price in DFS. Of these 5, there is one clear... I don't want to say I'm shying away from him, but it's quite nervous that he's in the top 5, and it's Russell Henley. And I'll get to why here in a little bit after we break down the salary board in detail. But I want to make sure that you all realize that even though he is 3rd in my data model, I am quite hesitant on Russell Henley. The stats are there, the numbers are there. He's number 1 in strokes gained approach. He is top 10 in putting. He really has not a bad statistic. I mean, his worst one is the par 5s. He's 45th in the field of 155. That's top 3rd easily. But there is one clear reason why I am hesitant on him, and we'll get to that. But that is my top 5 after running this data model. The round out the top 10 is Sung Jae, Harold Varner III, Johnny Vegas, Taylor Gooch, and Patrick Cantley. Hadwin, Power, Scheffler lurking right outside the top 10. Let me bring up the projected ownerships according to Fantasy National, and let's start breaking down this salary board here. So we'll start with the 10Ks, as we always do. There are 4 of them only this week, so you have a lot more of the kind of upper 8K tier, I would say. So only 4 10,000 guys: Jon Rahm, Patrick Cantley, Scotty Scheffler, and Tony Finau. None of these guys are pivots, but there are 2 pretty heavily used players. I think everybody's going to know who they are. It's Jon Rahm and Patrick Cantley. To be honest with you, I'm surprised at who is the more owned of the 2. These 2 are number 1 and number 2 in projected ownership, but it's Patrick Cantley at 22%, who is the projected most owned player, and Jon Rahm at just over 21. My guess, and it's a pure guess, speculation, is that people are going to be hoping that if they see Rahm only 400 more, that people jump on Rahm, and they're hoping that Cantley is a somewhat pivot. Doesn't look to be the case right now. So Cantley is actually the projected most owned player. Jon Rahm second. The good reason why. I mean, elite players on an easy track. You would think that this tournament sets up well for both of them. Especially Cantley. If he has a bulky putting round, it's not going to kill him because it's a guaranteed 3 rounds, not 2. So if he has one bad putting round, sometimes I can take him out of a tournament. Well, he's got a whole another round to let his elite skills outweigh his, a poor putting performance. So I do like Cantley this week. Scheffler and Finau, I like them both. They're both hovering right at the same percentage as well. Not nearly as much as these two, but they're not pivots either. I like both. I would choose Scottie Scheffler over Tony Finau, but both seem logical plays this week. In my mind, if I'm trying to rank the top 10 the 10K guys, I mean, it's going to be hard to not justify using Jon Rahm if you're up in this area of the price board. The numbers speak for themselves. Number 1 player in the world, and he's had success here at the Amex. He won in 2018 or 19. I know he's a previous winner. So there you go. He won in 2018. He also has a top 10 the year late, the next year, and he tied for had a top 35 the first time he was here. So he's had prior success here at the Amex. So if I'm ranking the 10Ks, I'm probably going Jon Rahm, then Scottie Scheffler, only because he's so much less ownership than Cantley. So for me, it goes Rahm, Scheffler, Cantley, Finau. And that's not to downgrade Finau a lot at all. I think he's a very reasonable play. I just have the other 3 higher than him in my mind this week. Moving to the 9Ks, we have Sungjae, Taylor Gooch, Seamus Power, Corey Connors, Matthew Wolff, Abraham Ancer, Will Zalatoris, and Russell Henley, the aforementioned Russell Henley. So in the 9Ks, there are a couple, actually, the haves and the have-nots, really, as far as ownership in this area of the price board. And there is one pretty clear pivot. And I'm going to just be flat out honest, my success or failure in DFS will hinge on the one pivot in this area, and that's Will Zalatoris. He is at less than 9% ownership right now. 5th in my data model. Number 1 in greens. His irons are in play. Very good at the par 3s. He could do to do better at the par 5s. But I don't think it's going to be very long before he is an elite superstar elite talent on the PGA Tour, even as young as he is. I think this track sets up well for him. If Will Zalatoris struggles this week, I'm going to have a bad DFS week. That's just the way it's going to be, because I've got a lot on him for the simple fact that he is a pure pivot of this area of the price board. Sitting at 9,100, you've got a couple of guys in the upper 8s that are around his ownership, and we'll get to them. But if you're in the 9Ks and above, Will Zalatoris is the only one hovering at 9% or below. And that excites me quite a bit, especially since he's number 5 in my data model. But to talk about the rest of the 9Ks here, you've got the 3rd and 4th most projected owned players in Sungjae and Gooch, respectively. Makes a whole lot of sense, both premier players. Sungjae scares me just a bit. You would think that he wouldn't miss 2 cuts in a row. The miscut at Waialae last week was a shock to me and probably a whole lot of other people. He just doesn't miss cuts very often. But his success here at the Amex has hinged a lot on his putting, and he can get a little bulky with the putter. So I don't know if there's a bit of fool's gold there, or he just flat out likes putting on these greens, and that could very well be the case. But it scares me knowing that he is not traditionally the best putter, and his success at the American Express has hinged on his putter. So that gives me a bit of concern here, and that's why I'm comfortable tempering my ownership on Sung Jae, especially since he's the third most projected owned player. Gooch does it in different ways. He's very good on easy courses. His irons are absolutely in fuego right now. Great at par 3s and par 5s. His putter can get bulky as well. Now, the issue with Taylor Gooch, and it didn't quite come back to biting last week at the Sony, but you definitely saw visions of it, that he can get a little wild off the tee. And while he maintained Wildeye a lot better than I thought he could have a disaster there with it being so tight. There is quite a bit of, there can be quite a bit of water in play on this course, or at this tournament, I should say. Nicklaus Tournament has 7 holes with water in play. The Stadium course has 5. If Taylor Gooch is wayward at all with his driver, it's going to be scary. So, with that, yes, I'm going to be using him 9th in my data model. I'm still going to be using Sung Jae too, but just like Sung Jae, I'm going to temper my ownership since he's the 4th most projected owned player, and there's a non-zero chance he can blow up at this place since there's trouble off the tee. So there's those two. I like almost everybody in here. You see, I've got the entire range starred there in my top third in my data model. I'm probably the lowest on Abraham Answer, just because off the tee matters on this course, and Abraham Answer is not the longest. His irons are a lot better than what they are in the past 36 rounds, but if his irons stay lukewarm like they have been, it's going to be a struggle for him, I think, with his lack of distance. So he's really, really going to have to take advantage of La Quinta and the Nicklaus Tournament course. So I'm the lowest on him. He's at, what's he at? He's at 16%. So he's the 5th most projected owned. I can take it or leave it. Like I said, I've told everybody that I'm not all in on Will Zalatoris, but I've got a lot of investment in Will Zalatoris for DFS. So for me, there's no reason to go to Answer when I have Zalatoris. But if you're looking for some differentiation among your lineups, Answer's fine. Wolf's fine. I know a lot of people are, or at least I would be, kind of hesitant considering last year, what are we going to get from Matthew Wolff? He had a fantastic fall. His off-the-tee game is better than what is showing. He takes advantage of the par 5s. He's very good at, he goes out and gets his birdies. Corey Connors, for that matter, very good. So all of these guys are legitimate plays. Even Russell Henley is a fine play. I'm just going to give you a reason why, if you want to come off Russell Henley, I can give you a reason. But for me, in the 9Ks, it's Will Zalatoris for me as being the pure pivot of essentially the upper tier of the price board. Being at or under 9% projected ownership, oh yeah, give me Will Zalatoris. If he struggles this week, I lose. That's where I'm at. So that'll do it for the 9Ks. Let's move to the 8s. You have Cameron Tringale, Patrick Reed, Christian Bezadenhout, Justin Rose, Ricky Fowler, Alex Noren, Siwoo, the defending champion Siwoo Kim, Carlos Ortiz, Johnny Vegas, Luke List, and Charles Howell III. In this area, there is 2 prominent plays, and I say prominent, that's 13% roughly. Christian Bezadenhout's getting a lot of love, and I'm not there. I'm just not there. His irons are okay, but we've mentioned how much off the tee matters. While he's gotten better at this, he is not long off the tee by any means, and he can get wayward just like Taylor Gooch can. But the thing for Gooch is he hits it a long way. Bezadenhout doesn't. Bezadenhout is one of the shorter hitters on tour. Let's see, what am I looking for? Distance accuracy. You can see here, driving distance gained. That's a lot of negative. There's a lot of negative here. He's just not long off the tee. And if you're going to be this constantly negative, you have to basically have 0 red in the fairway. And you can see, I mean, he can miss the fairway with the best of them. Houston's difficult. You can somewhat forgive him for that, but Arnold Palmer, WGC Mexico, the St. Jude in 2020. I mean, he's not the best driver of the golf ball. And his irons aren't good enough to make up for that if he's that wayward. His irons have been great lately, but it wasn't too long ago, at the beginning of 2021, his irons were consecutively bad. Now, yes, he has gotten, a lot of this is propped up by the 4.4 at the Memorial. Last week, his irons were really good at the Sony. So I don't think they're 2.3 good. They are, I would say they're probably more 1.5 as he's gotten better as a player. Now, his putting has always been very, very good. I'm not taking that away from him. Bermuda is also his favored green surface for putting. Problem is, as we saw at the Data Dive show, putting might not matter this year. It might matter a whole lot. It's just erratic here. There's a lot of different ways to play this course, but most consistently, it's off the tee that matters. Most consistently, it's here. So I'm just out on Bezuidenhout. I just am. Especially considering he's at 13% ownership. There are plenty of guys around this area that I'll gladly go to. I mentioned Will Zalatoris. That's 400 more. Tringali 200 more. I don't mind at all. We look at Tringali. His irons are much more consistent than Bezuidenhout's. Now, he's not the best putter on Bermuda, but he plays very well when it's easy. His driving has gotten better as he's gotten more length. His putting is fine. It's just not the best on Bermuda, but his irons are there. I just much prefer Tringali if I'm in this area of the price board. But as you can see from the lack of stars, I've been avoiding the upper 8K range mostly. If I'm up here, it's maybe Tringali for some differentiation. If I'm not already using Zalatoris, I'll use Henley. Answer, but I'm just not in this area of the price board really. Ricky Fowler has some prior success here at this tournament. I don't mind playing Ricky Fowler. The irons just scare me. The irons just scare me, and his putter is just not back yet. He showed signs of life this fall, so there is signs of promise. Third at the CJ Cup, but the Zozo's a non-cut event. He finished in the bottom half there. A mediocre performance at the Mayakoba, which we don't see the kind of the umbrella statistics, the off the tee approach putting, but there's no denying that the approach just isn't back yet. At least not consistently. So I'm not there with Ricky quite yet. There are signs of life. His putter is showing the flashes of what it could or what it used to be. So that's encouraging. But the irons need to come back. The off the tee game is, if there is going to be a week that Ricky could break out, it would be this week because he's had prior success here. This is a course that generally you need off the tee success, and that's where he is at his best right now. So if you're willing to take a gamble on Ricky Fowler, I understand why. I'm just not there. That's the way I'll put that. I'm just not there. But in this area, the 8Ks, you have a couple of guys who are pretty widely owned, and then the rest of these are pretty big pivots, to be honest with you. So we mentioned Bezuidenhout, 13%. You also have Johnny Vegas, who's at 12%, which is really upsetting because I'm in on Vegas as well. This is the chalk that I'll eat. You talk about anytime off the tee comes into play, you should think of Johnny Vegas. He's had fantastic success here. I shouldn't say fantastic success. He is 4 for 4 in his past 5 years here at the American Express and making the cut. including a top 20. Now the putter does get bulky, but Bermuda is his preferred surface. So, if there was ever a time for things to line up for Johnny Vegas, it should be at a course like the Stadium course, like a tournament like the Amex, where driving matters, the irons will play, and the putter cooperates one week. Around the green doesn't really matter here at the American Express, but he has even gotten better at that. But if he's relying on his around the green game, then it's not going to be good, because you just got to make birdies. He just needs the putter to cooperate. But, I mean, you can't argue with these off the tee numbers. They are stellar. I mean, this is elite level off the tee metrics. The irons are there too. I mean, he had a bad RSM. Look at this. He had a bad RSM with the irons and still finished top 15. That's because his putter cooperated. His putter cooperated. So I like Johnny Vegas a lot this week. I see a lot of people like him as well. I'm not going to be able to get off of him. At 8,100, I think he is. Yeah, at 8,100. Yeah, give me Vegas. There's a lot of lineups that I have that go Will Z and Vegas. Maybe not starting the team with Will Zalatoris. Maybe doing something like Rahm Zalatoris or Scheffler Zalatoris. But I have had no issue going, elite or upper tier Will Z, Johnny V. I'm all about that. So if Will Z and or Johnny Vegas struggle, I'm going to be in trouble. But a lot of people are going to be struggling if Johnny V struggles. That's just the chalk I'll eat. I'm going to be in trouble if Will Z struggles. But anyway, the rest of the 8Ks, like Luke List, is fine. If you can get over the putting, the disaster of a putter, then Luke List should be a fine play. He is fantastic off the tee. He hits his greens, which speaks to the iron play. I think Luke List is a fine play. You just have to cringe and hope for the best on the greens, and pray this is a year that the greens just don't matter. But that could work out absolutely. Luke List is also hovering right under 11% as well. So there's three guys. Excuse me. I thought he was in the 7th. So Zayden at 13, Johnny Vegas is hovering right at 12, and Luke List is hovering right at 11. Where'd he go? There he is. So that's it for the 8Ks in the guys who are drawing attention. So everybody else in this range is a pretty big pivot, to be honest with you. I like Tringali. Carlos Ortiz isn't terrible. He's kind of Luke List light. He's not as good off the tee. His irons are just about. They say it's better than Luke List. I'll say just a bit under Luke List. It's just the putting. So I like Carlos Ortiz as well. But generally speaking, I'm just not in the 8K range at all. I'm just not. Siwoo, your defending champion. Not there. You always have the scare of a withdrawal, either right before the tournament or during the tournament. And you notice Bermuda putting is not his favorite. He does not like it when it's calm, and it's generally calm here. When you look at his success last year, how many times is he going to gain 8 strokes on approach? Well, you see here, he's not a great iron player. How many times he's going to gain 3 on the greens? Well, he's not a good putter. He just had a magical week, and all power to him. He had a magical week. But just because he's a defending champion doesn't. I don't see it for Siwoo. I just don't. So that's it for the 8Ks. Let's move into the upper 7s. Upper 7s, we have Adam Hadwin, Brian Harmon, Russell Knox, Chris Kirk, Cameron Champ, Ches Reavie, Gary Woodland, Brendan Todd, HV3, Adam Long, Griot, Lucas Glover, Gim, Munoz, Griffin, and Michael Thompson. Lots of upper 7s here. You can see the guys that I have starred and the rankings that I have for them in my data model. There are what's this, 3 in this area, and 2 I completely understand. 1 is throwing me for a loop on why he's being used. In this region, you got Adam Hadwin at 11% and Russell Knox at 12.5%. And for the same reason I'm wary on Russell Henley, it's the same reason I'm backing Hadwin and Knox this week. These two, especially Adam Hadwin, are synonymous with the American Express. Adam Hadwin has played this event 4 times in the past 5 years. He averages a top 10 finish. Averages a top 10 finish. He's had 3 podium finishes in the past 4 years. He's just never won the tournament. Adam Hadwin loves the American Express. And I would figured he'd have been chalky as all get out, knowing that he is synonymous with the American Express. But if he's only at 11%, give me all the Adam Hadwin I can handle. Give me all of Adam Hadwin. Absolutely. At only 11%, because I thought he would be upwards of 17, 18%, just because of prior course performance. And Russell Knox is a lot of the same way, and he's getting a lot more love. He hasn't had quite the success that Adam Hadwin has, but he is 4 for 4 in making the cuts. He's had a lot of success here at the American Express. I guess most people are banking on the irons as opposed to the putting, because Adam Hadwin gets it done all in putting. Knox gets it done, generally speaking, off the tee and putting. Both of these are fantastic plays. I'm using Hadwin more than Knox. 1, for the less ownership, and 2, because of the more prior course performance. But both of these are fantastic plays. Absolutely fantastic plays. Then we come down to Harold Varner. Love Harold Varner this week. Off the tee does scare me a little bit. He's not had the most success here at the Amex as well, so it's a little worrisome. There's reasons to be hesitant on Harold Varner, but at under 9%, fantastic. I will use Harold Varner when I can. The third guy that's getting used quite a bit, I'm just not seeing it, is Michael Thompson. Now, Michael Thompson had a fantastic Sony, I'll give you that. He is best on Bermuda, sure. Plays best when it's easy, sure. But his irons are not good. They're not good. And he had a fantastic Sony, sure. Everybody has a good week. Now the putting, I will say that was probably not fluke. He had a better week than usual, but that wasn't a fluke. He's a good putter. But his off the tee and approach game are just not good, and those are the 2 most consistent factors here at the Amex. Now the putting, if the putting matters this year, then yes, Michael Thompson will be a pretty good play. I'm just not banking on it being a major factor this year. So, I mean, he's lost, at least in the measured rounds, because we don't know the Mayakoba. In measured rounds, he's lost strokes off the tee in the last 5. He's lost strokes in approach on 4 of the last 5. It's just made up by one fantastic tournament. So I'm not seeing it for Michael Thompson. I'm just not. And he's at 10.5%. So, yeah, no thank you. I highlighted Harold Varner. I really don't mind Chez Reavie for the iron play. It's, the rest of this can be quite disastrous. But for the irons, you're talking Chez Reavie at 5%. I would be willing to take a chance on that. Absolutely. Chris Kirk. Sure. He's a lot less irons with than Chez Reavie, but he's not a disaster. He plays these par 4s well. Plays par 3s really well. I don't mind Chris Kirk. He's sitting at 7%. So I think there are options here in the upper 7s. If you're going to use the best plays in the upper 7s, it's Adam Hadwin and Russell Knox, and they're the chalky ones of the upper 7s. But there's a reason why they are. They're just good plays. They're just good plays. Like Webb Simpson at the RSM, Adam Hadwin and Russell Knox at the Amex. It just makes too much damn sense. Moving to the low 7s. We've got quite a few names here. McCarthy, Cantley, Streelman, Phil Mickelson, Taylor Moore, Patrick Rogers, Troy Merritt, Kazire Day, Hayden Buckley, Alex Smalley, Kramer Hickok, Andrew Landry, Brendan Steele, Tom Hoagie, Danny Lee, Aaron Rye, Andrew Putnam, Vincent Whaley, John Hunt, Adam Shank, Martin Laird, Taylor Pendrith, Adam Svensson, Scott Piercy, and Francesco Molinari. In the low sevens, there is two guys that are getting some pretty heavy use. No surprise, probably. Hayden Buckley, he introduced himself to the DFS world last week. He's still only sitting at 10.5%, so don't let it completely push you away. But he is the chalkiest of this area, and for good reason. I think it's going to be another really good performance for him this week. The other one is Adam Svensson, and he's pretty interesting. I don't have him rated high in the data model, but this Canadian is very, very talented. He is somebody that I've kind of keyed in on, in the fall. Didn't quite perform the way I thought. Had a fantastic Sony. His off the tee game is a lot better than what it was at the Sony. His irons obviously aren't that good, but you can see he is generally a good iron player. There's a lot to like with Adam Svensson. A lot to like with him. I think he's going to be a pretty darn good rookie this year. I just don't see this as a good course fit for him. And if I'm wrong, and if you take Adam Svensson this week, now granted he's pretty chalky at the at 7,000 he's at 10%, but that's leverage you're gaining on supposedly 90% of the field. And I do like the player. I don't like the course fit for him this week, but I do like the player. Adam Svensson's going to be a good rookie on the PGA Tour this year. Let's kind of highlight some guys here. Denny McCarthy. The irons are really scary, but if putting does matter this year, you want Denny McCarthy, and he's good when it's easy. He's good at par fours. He's good when it's easy. I mean, he had a decent Sony. Wasn't fantastic by any means, but he had a decent Sony. Kind of fell off at the end of in the weekend, but his irons are getting better. His off the tee game is getting better. He's always been a fantastic putter. I don't mind Denny McCarthy this week. He is at 4%. Taylor Moore, fantastic rookie. I think he's probably going to be the rookie of the year. Again, his irons are not that bad. His irons were awesome on the Korn Ferry Tour. Probably just takes some time to get adjusted to the PGA Tour. But I mean, look here. Strokes gained total on easy courses, top 5. Birdies on easy courses, top 10. Taylor Moore is the real deal. And when you're getting him at 6%, I think that's a worthwhile gamble this week. We talked about Hayden Buckley. I like Tom Hoagie this week. I really do. He doesn't get enough love for how good his irons are. He's very good at par threes. I like Tom Hoagie quite a bit this week. On a course where consistently approach matters, yeah. I mean, look at this. In this past 5, they're not this good. His irons are not this good. But, I mean, you see here, in the past 5 measured rounds, he did lose strokes last week at the Sony, but RSM, where he top 5, gains 4.5. Houston, he gained 6. The only reason he had a clunker of a performance is he couldn't make a fucking putt. 3.5 here, almost 3.5 at the Shriners, 4 at the Sanderson Farms. This is what you have to worry about, is the putter. But when you're giving me Tom Hoagie at 8% ownership on a course that putting might not matter, yeah, give me some Tom Hoagie. I like it. I like Tom Hoagie this week. And then we've had a lot of discussion about Adam Shank this week here on the channel. And I'm not lukewarm. I'm not avoiding him, but I'm not reaching to go get him either. He has had some mild success at this tournament. And his profile says he should fit well here at the Amex. Very good on approach. as long as his off the tee game is somewhat neutral, it lets his putter play up like it can. Around the green absolutely does not matter here at the American Express. This would say that he should have, he's got the formula to be successful here. But when you look, 2021 last year, just outside the top 35. He was okay. He just had a bad, putting week. It happens. In 2020, gains a whole shit ton on the greens. Didn't hit his irons well. He's still top 15. But when you see a profile like this, a portfolio of good approach, decent off the tee, putting is very good, that would signify that you would think he would have prior success at the Amex. He doesn't. So I don't know if it's something about this course he doesn't like, if he's just had, a couple of bad, unfortunate weeks, like the one bad putting tournament. I don't know. He's going to be an interesting watch this week to see what really comes to fruition. Is it that, his putter really does play up, and he gets that top 15 when his irons actually cooperate? Or is this just a course that doesn't fit his eye? Adam Shank right now is at 3.5%. So, you will be gaining a whole lot of leverage if you use him, but there is risk there. There's absolute risk there. So, let's quickly go to the 6Ks, because I have a couple of lineups that I want to show you all. We're going to try to beat, as we do, the chalky stars and scrubs, the chalky balance. And then I think I have a lineup for you all that I'm almost guaranteeing that will cash in a double up or a 50-50. I'm pretty damn confident in it. But let's cover these 6K plays real quick, see if we can find people. I like Rory Sabatini this week a lot. I was on him last week. He didn't play as well as I thought he would. But again, this is a profile that could, when you're down at this area of the price board, you're going to have to take some risks. He had a really bad Sony. It's just what it was. He did not do well with his irons. He didn't putt well when he's generally a decent putter. His irons are field average at best, but if he had been showing signs of life with the irons. So if the irons come back, and I won't even say 3, let's say 2. If he has a positive week, gains 2 strokes with the irons, the off the tee plays normally like it does, I think Rory Sabatini is a good play at 6,900 to make you a cut to get more points on the weekend. I like Rory Sabatini at 6,900. I like Chad Ramey and Davis Riley at 68. Here's a name that I think is going to get forgotten this week, and I don't want you to forget it. It's Tyler Mccumber. I'm looking off to the side to try to find his ownership. Tyler Mccumber. Be aware of Tyler Mccumber. Now, he could absolutely implode. Terrible with the irons. Therefore, he doesn't hit a lot of greens. But when things click for him, look out. He's good on easy courses. Good. When you're coming down this low in the price board, you don't usually get top 40 in statistics that overlap, like birdies on easy courses, strokes gained total on easy courses. Like you see here, Ben Cole's 23 and 14, but 37-31. Tyler Mccumber is somebody to look out for this week. I really like Tyler Mccumber. He's coming off a top 5 at the RSM, hadn't played yet this year, so there could be some rust. Again, there's always risk when it comes to these guys here at this range of the price board. But he's 2 for 2 in making the cut, at least at the Amex. 2 for 2. When you're down here in this area of the price board, you're trying to get a 6 of 6 lineup through. I think Mccumber will be okay. Then coming down here, I like Smotherman a lot with the irons. Off the tee game, the irons, the putter cooperates. He'll be right there for a cut, maybe even a top 30 or so. So there's a few guys down here in the 6s that I do like. But I wanted to highlight Tyler Mccumber. I wanted to highlight Austin Smotherman. The wild card in this area in the 6Ks, he's a complete wild card. If you are if your team, if your first 5 or your 5 other guys are fairly solid, you feel fairly confident that they'll make a cut. They might not have the highest upside or whatnot. Take a look at Cameron Young. His irons have been a disaster on the PGA Tour so far, but he's number 1 in birdies on easy courses. He's top 20 on strokes gained total on easy courses. He's number 8 total and off the tee, and he can putt. His irons have not played well at all. He's not that bad with the irons. He's not great, but he's not this bad with the irons. It's his off the tee game that is very, very appealing this week on a tournament that consistently values off the tee. Around the green does not matter here, and he's shown that he can putt. So if he actually lets the irons play a little bit, if he, like at the Sanderson Farms, if he actually gains a stroke to the field on approach, he can let his putter play. Now, I don't expect him to gain 5 again, but I mean, you see these off the tee numbers. 3, 2, 2.5. The guy can play. He is very volatile because of the lack of consistency with the irons. But if the irons get dialed in on a track where off the tee matters, Cameron Young is boom or bust. If you have the space to take a boom or bust option, I suggest you try Cameron Young, because he has the ability to just win you a DFS contest. I mean, he can go low because of the driver and the putter. He can go low. So take a look at Cameron Young if you can afford the risk. So that's going to do it for the overview of the price board. Let's look at the wind really quickly. Ooh, okay. So Thursday and Friday looks to be really calm. At least most of it. And then you get to Friday afternoon, look at this. Friday and Saturday, a humongous amount of wind. Interesting. This was not there earlier this week. Alrighty. Now, yes, we're most concerned about getting 6 of 6 through. So if you have a guy that is Thursday AM, Friday PM, because remember, this is a 54-hole cut. Looks like everybody's going to have to deal with shit on Saturday. So if of the guys that you're considering, who plays in Friday afternoon, like Friday evening? That's when it looks like it's supposed to get terrible. That's really weird to see, from 1 o'clock at 2 mile an hour to 17 at 4. Wow, that's a big jump. But anyway, if your guy is teeing off extremely late on Friday, that might be a reason to just, if there's a tiebreaker, this would be the tiebreaker. Because it looks like everybody's got to deal with shit on Saturday. So, very interesting. So yeah, be wary of anybody that is teeing off late on Friday. Especially if they're at the stadium course late on Friday. The stadium course is the hardest of the 3. So, there you go. Be wary of that. All right, so let's move to Microsoft Excel. But first, I'm going to show you why I was so... sorry, losing track of thought. Why I'm so low on Russell Henley, or at least tempering my ownership on Henley and exaggerating my Russell Knox and Adam Hadwin. So this is a color-coded chart and sorted by the average finish here solely at the American Express. And I've got this filtered. I did have a filter on there. I think I've unfiltered what I need to. Yeah. So let's look here and let's do 3 players. We're going to look at Adam Hadwin. We're going to look at Russell Knox, and we're going to look at Russell Henley. And again, remember, this is performance solely at the American Express in the past 5 years. Okay, I want you to see something. Green good, red bad. Okay? Adam Hadwin, in the past 5 years, he's played it 4 times. He has an average finish of 10th, and he's missed the cut none. Okay? Russell Knox has played this event 4 times in the past 5 years. Average is a top 25 finish. Has not missed the cut in the past 5 years. Russell Henley has played this event 4 times. He has missed the cut every single time in the past 5 years. Okay? That's why I'm a little gun shy on Russell Henley. Because no matter what the stats say, even though he's third in my data model, he's actually negative at strokes gained approach here. Now, if he'd only played it 1 time, okay, outlier, bad week, sure, it happens. He's played it 4 times. He's always been a good iron player. Something about this course that isn't suiting his eye. It happens. Now, this is typical Adam Hadwin. Fantastic putter. He's a lot better with the irons here than he is at other places. And he's actually neutral to the field, generally speaking, off the tee. That's why he's had so much success here. Russell Knox is not putting worth a darn here at this tournament, even though he's a good putter. He's very good with his approach, and he gains off the tee. But the biggest thing is, let's look at these birdies. Adam Hadwin, he gains 6.75 birdies against the field here at the Amex. Russell Knox, 3.5. Russell Henley loses. And birdies are going to be so important this week. Let's keep moving across. Strokes gained par 3. Adam Hadwin 3. Russell Knox 2.3. Henley negative. The range of the distance of the par 4s, 400 to 450. Adam Hadwin destroys it. 4.2. Knox just under 2. Henley negative. Par 5s, a lot more of the same story. Knox is basically field average compared to Henley, who is atrocious at these par 5s. So even though Russell Henley is third in my data model, this is why I'm being very, very hesitant with him. Past performance matters. Sometimes guys just don't like a course. So I'll use Russell Henley. I will. I'm definitely going to temper my ownership because of this. Even though he's third in my data model, I'm going to temper the ownership. Even though these two are pretty chalky for their area of the price board, I'm going to use them. They're good plays here at the American Express. So that is what I wanted to show you all for the reasoning behind those 3 guys, basically. So let's move over here to Microsoft Excel, my spreadsheet, where I have already brought in my rankings and ownerships and stuff. Let's do a quick tiers look for those who play tiers contests. And again, I'm not terribly familiar with them. I'm only going to go by ownerships based on the classic projected ownerships. So, there could be a whole other, strategy or ownership percentage to these players. But I'm just going to go based on what I know and what I'm looking at via Fantasy National. So tier 1, John Rahm, Patrick Cantley, Scotty Scheffler. It's pretty easy. I would take John Rahm. He's probably the chalkiest. If you want a bit of uniqueness, go Scotty Scheffler. I think he's still going to be a good play. But for me, it's John Rahm. Tier 2, Corey Connors, Sung Jae, Seamus Power, Matthew Wolff, Tony Finau. This one's a little bit more difficult. I've mentioned how shy I am on Sung Jae because of his reliance on the putter at this course in previous years. Don't mind Seamus. I think Matthew Wolff's a legitimate gamble. So for me, I'd go Wolff because I have the quote safety in John Rahm. But I also think Corey Connors would be useful as well. Tier 3, Russell Henley, Will Zalatoris, Taylor Gooch, Cameron Tringali, Abraham Answer. Yeah. I think I've talked enough about it in this show. It's Will Zalatoris all day, every day for me this week. Tier 4, Johnny Vegas, Luke List, Seabez, Siwoo, Justin Rose, Alex Noren, and Patrick Reed. Well, all of these guys I've had to scroll for. It's Johnny V. I'm all Johnny Vegas this week as well. So Tier 3 and Tier 4 are pretty much set for me. It's Will Z and Johnny V. I don't mind a Luke List. I really don't. But I think it's between these two, and I think Johnny Vegas is pretty substantially ahead of Luke List. Tier 5, Adam Hadwin, Russell Knox, Carlos Ortiz, Adam Long, Ricky Fowler, Charles Howell III, Ches Reavie, Chris Kirk, Emiliano Grillo, Gary Woodland, Cameron Champ, and Brendan Todd. Oh shoot, I put a bunch of the 5s in the 6s, or I put the 6s in the 5s. That's frustrating. Give me a second, I can fix this. I apologize. Sort. I knew there was a lot of 5s. Let's sort by price. Salary. C. Largest to smallest. Okay, so tier 5 should be Ricky, Carlos Ortiz, Charles Howell III, Hadwin, Harmon, Knox, I think, and maybe Chris Kirk. For me, it's Adam Hadwin and Russell Knox. Good plays at the Amex. Then tier 6, something along the lines of Champ, Reavie, Woodland, Todd, Long, Grillo, and Phil Mickelson. Not really excited about any of these guys, to be honest with you. Maybe Ches because of the irons. Cameron Champ has the explosive ability of just winning a tournament. So I think it'd probably be Ches for me, but I'm not exactly thrilled about it. So there you go. There's the look at the tiers contests. Let me resort this. Let's do my rank, smallest to largest. And let's start building a couple of lineups here. Let's delete that. All right. Shoot, I didn't want to delete all of that. Let's do that. Okay. So let's try to build this a chalky lineup. Or what we're seeing is a chalky lineup here. Bring up that and chat. All right, so it's pretty clear that guys are generally gravitating towards Robb or Cantley. I'm going to use Robb just for the sake of argument here. So they're probably starting John Robb. Maybe they're going as high as Sung Jae or Taylor Gooch. I'm going to do Corey Connors for them. Still the projected 5th most owned player. And then they're going to come down. It looks like a lot of people are going Christian Bezadenhout. And again, I'm not there with him. I'm just not. That's not right. This is Q10. Aha. That's why. Hooray for formulas. There we go. So you see here, this lineup's already 8% matching your other contestants. You've only filled in 3 people. Now, granted, looks like they're going to have to start saving a little bit of money here, so they're probably going down to like Hayden Buckley. Probably Adam Svensson. And they're filling in a guy here at 64. The chalkiest play down here, not really anybody. So they're going a little bit less than this. Let's see, Adam Svensson maybe, then Hayden Buckley. Again, a lot of people are using Bezadenhout for whatever reason. It's 7,900 per. Okay. Probably using something to the effect of Johnny V. If I could spell. Johnny V and what we got, 77? Fine, not Johnny V. They're going, let's just make this easy. They're going Hadwin and Knox. That looks to be a pretty chalky lineup right now. It's matching at 13%. I'm not comfortable doing that. That's pretty darn chalky. If you wanted to go stars and scrubs, I think your best bet, you're going to start coming down here. And I mentioned, I really like Tyler Mccumber. I really do. If you don't want to go down that far at 66, I still think Rory Sabatini is a good play. But I'm willing to take the chance at Tyler Mccumber. So I'm going to start there. And even though he's the second most projected owned player, we are building a stars and scrubs. So I'm going to go John Robb. But instead of coming up to, say, Hayden Buckley, I'm going to go pure, and I mean pure stars and scrubs. I'm going to go Chad Rainey. Somebody I also like this week quite a bit. You could put Rory Sabatini in here. They're at the same price. Actually, Rory Sabatini's one more. I'm just going to use Chad Rainey for different combination of guys. Then we mentioned Will Zalatoris. I mentioned Cameron Tringali. Don't know if he quite fits in this lineup. But we have 8,100 per. So if I did go Cameron Tringali, that puts me at 73. And who I like at 73? Patrick Rogers, Troy Merritt, Taylor Moore. So there's a stars and scrubs lineup that I think would be it's pretty good pivot. You still have John Rahm. You've got some upside here in the two Corn Ferry Tour guys. You've got a dart throw in Tyler Mccumber. So I like this kind of build of a stars and scrubs this week. If you're going to look at chalky balance, I don't think you're going to be able to use Robb or Cantley. So let's come down all the way to Sungjae and go Sungjae, Connors. I would like to try to use Bezadenhout, but I don't think they're doing that. So maybe Johnny Vegas. We'll say Russell Knox. He's more owned than Adam Hadwin. So you got Russell Knox. You got 7,400 per. Looks like people are gravitating towards Michael Thompson. And then again, you're at 73. They're going to use that. So there's another lineup that's at about 13%. And there's your balanced kind of quote chalky build. Balanced chalky build there. If you're wanting to build a pivoty type pivoty type balanced team, you would start with Will Zalatoris. I'm going to start with Seamus Power just to use some different guys. But you would absolutely start with Will Zalatoris. I'm going to go Seamus Power into... why not? Why don't we try Will Z and Seamus together? Why not? That means you're going to have to come down a little bit further than the low sevens. I'll bottom out at Rory Sabatini. And who's the next one up here? We use Taylor Moore. I like Patrick Rogers. Let's use Denny McCarthy in case putting matters this week. So now I can go into the mid-8s for both of these, and I'm still set up pretty well in uniqueness. I've got a bit more volatility here. So, even though he's not a pivot, like you can still take Johnny Vegas, and you're still only at 7% matching your contest field. Like 9,000 is exactly Russell Henley. If you believe in Russell Henley, that's only 8.5%, upwards of 9%. Maybe you don't want Russell Henley. Maybe you're believing in Ricky Fowler. Well, if you got Ricky Fowler, then the 8,600 is Justin Rose, who I'm not terribly crazy about. But you could have Ricky and Carlos Ortiz, Ricky and Johnny Vegas, Ricky and Luke List. So there's a lot of options here for a balanced build and to be extremely, extremely unique. So it seems like that would be the way to go if you're willing to dabble into the 8Ks, especially in the upper end of the 8Ks, which I'm not terribly fond of this week, but there is uniqueness there. There is leverage there. I mentioned earlier in the show, and I'll end off with the lineup that I think I'm pretty much guaranteeing will cash. This would be a perfect double up lineup, be a perfect 50-50 lineup. I just think it's going to be a super, super conservative. It'll be chalky, super conservative, super solid lineup. It's going to start with John Robb, and you're using Adam Hadwin. Sorry, not there. You're using Adam Hadwin. You're using Russell Knox for the reasons I mentioned. You're using Hayden Buckley. I think he's going to be solid. Now, this is where you can differentiate a little bit. If you're wanting to take this lineup into a tournament style, where the higher on it's more geared for top end finishes, it's top heavy dollar amounts. You can start to take your chances here. Maybe you do a Will Zalatoris or a Cameron Tringali or somebody of that ilk that you like. But since I said this is going to be super conservative, ultra safe and chalky, I would go all the way down to Johnny Vegas. And then at 77, I've got Chez Reavie there. I've got Harold Varner, who I'm okay about. Jenny McCarthy, KH Lee, Patrick Rogers. So you can adjust this, but I mean these three here, four really, I'm really high on Vegas. So like for me, this is a pretty chalky team that I would not be comfortable using quite a bit. I still have a guy to go, and it's projected to match 11% of the lineups with still one person to go. I'll just put somebody in here at 7,700. Sure, I'll use Chez just because I think he'll be okay, just because of the irons. But that's 12 matching 12% of the field, which is pretty darn chalky. But I'm almost guarantee this will cash in a double up. It'll win a 50-50. So, guys, that's going to do it for the American Express DFS Tactics show. Jump in the comments this weekend. Let me know how you're doing. Lineups that you had submitted, guys that you shied away from, or maybe gravitated towards. Want to hear about all that. Best of luck in all your contests, guys. For any bets, any wagers that you have made at the American Express this week, and for all of the contests that you have entered this week for the American Express, may all your bets be profitable.